Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including RWBY, which we'll be getting into right now. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Hayley Nabuurs.
Hello.
And Indy Potter.
Hello.
We are back to talk more RWBY here this week, episode 3 of volume 6 of RWBY, the Lost Fable. That aired today on Rooster Teeth First. We're covering the Rooster Teeth First premieres of RWBY every week here at the Overly Animated Podcast. Find us at overlyanimated.com or search for RWBY Overly Animated on iTunes. Subscribe there or subscribe on our YouTube at youtube.com/overlyanimated to not miss any of our future RWBY podcasts. We got a big episode today to get to. Maybe you could argue it's the most important episode in the history of this show here in year 6. So a lot of important information we're going to dive into here. Make sure you've seen The Lost Fable. Spoilers for this and all previous episodes of RWBY. But let's dive right in. Hayley, what did you think of this episode?
I'm shook, I think.
Shook
would be the correct term here. It was nuts. Like, I was really hoping the episode, I guess, would be like this, because I didn't want it to be a Jean episode. I wanted it to be actually a continuation of the cliffhanger from last week, and it was for sure. It was a lot to process because it was a lot of information, pretty fast, and it explained so many things and things that I didn't even think would be explained, like the moon. Like, that was a random addition. And I think it shed a lot of light on Salem and Oz in general, which was really great. And it explained, like, the mythology of the world and the theology of the world and so many things. And it was just totally nuts. I think it lost me a little bit when the gods first showed up, because I was like, oh no, what is this? But once I accepted that this was happening, I was happy with it. And just kind of thought about it as if, like, oh, this is a really long time ago from where we're at in the storyline. So it kind of was like a suspension of disbelief kind of thing almost. But yeah, it was a lot. I think I'm happy. So yeah.
Okay. I think I'm happy.
I'm pretty sure I'm happy.
I think that's the highest we can get with RWBY. Okay. That's good. Hayley thinks she's happy. Andy, what do you think you are?
I think that this is definitively the best episode of World of Remnant they've ever produced, bar none. It was interesting. I'll say that. I haven't been bored by any episode this season, so that's good. This episode definitely had me interested all the way through. That said, I don't think it was successful in what it set out to do, because it definitely told us the history of the world, but I don't think I learned anything about Ozpin from this flashback that I didn't already think I already knew. So I don't know. Like, I learned, like, oh, this is how he started reincarnating, but I didn't learn anything about, like, why he's so evil or why he's weird and lying to everybody. So I don't think this was it didn't pay off the ending of last week's episode the way it should have. Because right now, last week's episode makes no sense in context with this one, because this story just doesn't show Ozpin as being bad. But I'm sure we'll get to that at some point in this episode when we talk about it. But I don't know. I feel conflicted because this episode's good on its own, but in context with the rest of the show, it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's a good point that last week everyone was really mad at Ozpin, and this episode I think mostly absolves him. So we'll dive into that. Do we blame Ozpin? What's going on there? Yeah. Okay. So I have some interesting takes on this episode. Let's see. First of all, so I was completely enthralled, I think, when watching The Lost Fable for the first time. In a way, I haven't really been with RWBY in ever. So hold that thought. I think this episode is really fantastic. I don't know. Maybe we're going to be surprised for me to hear this, but I get that there might be some complaints about it in the context of the mythology of the show, in the context of the season, but I tend to not care about these things as much. And as a self-contained unit, I think this is really phenomenal, honestly. I think that the storytelling that they're doing is great. I mean, it's an origin story for the Remnant. It's not like it has all that much depth, but that's what these origin stories have. I think this is a fantastic origin story for Remnant. I think that the execution on this is absolutely incredible. This is probably production-wise the highest quality episode of RWBY that we've had.
It was beautiful.
Oh yeah,
visually, sound. I was floored by all components of that, from the sound design to the music, audio in the audio, to visually the backgrounds. This green smoke transition that we used throughout was absolutely gorgeous and phenomenal. It just really fit this storybook Fable that we're getting into. And I found the history of Salem and Ozpin, I found it really interesting, and the way the gods were used, and it was just really satisfying having so many things explained in a way that we've never had before on this show. Like, this is what I've been asking for, so to a certain extent, like, that we've got it, and I should be happy. And I think I was happy to the extent where, here you go, I think this is the best episode of RWBY ever. I think this is number one. I've never really been so unilaterally, like, there's no bad B arc. There's, we're not going to, there's no John and he, this is start to finish. This is just really great storytelling.
Super
and
solid.
I think kudos to everyone involved in the RWBY crew, because this is just so high level of production and narrative that we've never gotten before from the show. So really, this is my number one. I came up with a 1, 2, 3 for context here. Previously, beginning of the end in volume 3, I was really happy with another backstory episode. I think RWBY's better with backstory than it is with present a lot of the time. So I'd do Lost Fable number 1, beginning of the end number 2, and from last season's Flawed but Spectacular Alone Together as number 3. Yeah. I think it's better than these two. Like, this is just so consistent, incredible. Yeah. It's long, but it's gripping. It explains so much, and I'm really so happy with it. There will be no rant from me this week, because no rant of the week, because there were annoying things with this mythology, like that you could say, like, oh, the moon, maybe you'd expect the rant to be about the moon. I love that moment. It was cinematic and incredible. It was stupid. It's stupid. I don't care. It was absolutely incredible. We can get to that, but this gave us the answers we wanted. It did in a spectacular way. I will not be ranting. I'm 100% positive about RWBY this week.
Wow.
No rant. Okay.
Yeah.
Andy, what do you seemed more negative there? Do you disagree?
I think I'm just latching on to. I have problems when I'm watching shows like this. I latch on to the whole season when I'm watching it. I try to picture how the show's going, and I just don't see how this episode fits in with the rest of it. This episode, I agree, on its own, separated from everything else, is really good. I really enjoyed it. I'm just really confused about Ozpin right now, because he's not acting in the present like this flashback showed him. It doesn't fit together in a way that makes sense. Maybe there's still more we're missing. Maybe we still haven't seen the end of the flashback. Maybe there's still a little more next episode, because this really did seem like it cut off really suddenly. It just, like, you can't, and then it just ends.
I think we need another 30-minute flashback episode in order to really dive into the depths of Ozpin.
I don't know if we need that, but I feel like we still have not seen what he's hiding, because I don't think any of this was really hidden. It was just not told. Like, this wasn't really a lie. It's like, he's not going to tell you his 10,000-year history, but nothing yet screams, like, why was he so mad at them? I don't get it. But again, this episode on its own is insanely beautiful. It's really interesting. The mythology is compelling, which is surprising for this show. And we finally have a reason for Salem to be the big bad. And that was something we were really missing. And I'm really excited for that part.
Yeah, it's just such an improvement for Salem's character. Like, we still don't really understand her motivations in the present. We can start to understand her ultimate goals now, but just having this context for her character is so great. I understand the frustrations with Ozpin here, but I disagree that the episode doesn't give us anything in terms of tying it back to last episode. Like, the difference between them being, like, so furious and turning on Ozpin, and then us learning that really he is this embodiment of trying to improve humanity, and he genuinely is. There's a huge disconnect there. The answer, I think, is the end of the episode, where it's like he's been hiding all of this information. He's been hiding that he learned that they cannot destroy Salem. I think these are things that on its own are enough to get mad at him about. Him will be explored in the future, hopefully next episode. But it's certainly like I do wish there was some more uniformity between this episode and last episode. It feels very jarring with how we're approaching Ozpin the character. But that's not a knock on this episode. Though. Like I said, I'm trying to isolate it. Yeah,
I get that. Like I'm saying like this episode is good. I'm just concerned about the season long arc here, and that's what my concerns are stemming from.
Okay, yeah. Hayley, what do you think stands out to you the most looking back at the Lost Fable? Like any element of mythology that we revealed, any character in particular?
I think Salem for me, because I wanted to like her as a villain all this time, because I tend to love villainous characters, but there was just nothing to go on. Like, we didn't understand her motivations besides, oh, she's evil, but it's like, but why is she evil? Like, what's going on with her? So I think this episode was fantastic for that, because we got like basically her whole life story. And I think it was really interesting, the whole thing about how, like, by the end of this episode, I know she's evil, but I don't think she's actually evil for the motivations of what she's doing. Like, the gods are the evil ones to her, kind of. In a sense. So it gave me a lot of sympathy for her, which I was wanting anyway. So maybe I was just reading into it. But I think she has grown so much as a character just through one episode. And it's kind of spectacular, because it doesn't feel, I think it feels jarring if you think about like, oh, it took us 6 seasons to get here. But from this episode beginning to end, I'm happy with her character now, and I want to see more about her, and I feel like I can actually be more engaged when she's on screen, because I know what her history is and how it ties into this bigger history. And in the theme of the whole season, I also have no clue where the season is going, but I kind of like it. And it feels like this season is like a sharp break from the seasons before, and I'm all for it. Like, it seems like we're actually doing things and learning information, which is great, because Salem has just been there for a while as like the big bad, like you were saying, but she didn't have any motivation. So now we can finally get into that a bit more and have it not just be she's evil for the sake of being evil. Like, she's got issues that she's working through that we know about now.
Yeah. Last week we said that it was probably the best first 2 episodes of a season. Mm-hmm. And you're adding in, I think it's the best episode of the show. Like, this is a phenomenally strong start with these 3 episodes.
You know what? I'm going to also get on the bandwagon of the best episode, because I was trying to think of another one.
That's a quick jumping on.
No, it's a good one. It's a good trade, because, like, you're right. All the other episodes that I can think of that I really enjoy, they almost inevitably have a B plot that I didn't enjoy. But this one was solid. It was kind of jarring at first, like, oh, okay, we're getting every explanation, but it was great and really well executed.
I think the biggest thing for me is, like, I'm not fully on the train with you yet, Dylan, but I think the biggest part of this season is that when I'm watching this show now, it feels like a real show. That's a stupid thing to say, but I mean, like, it feels like this is something that could have been airing on TV somewhere.
There's momentum behind.
There's momentum, there's production value, and there's all the characters we care about. And it feels like it's all in a slick, good package. And I'm just really shocked that this is like, all the seasons seem to jump. This seems like the biggest jumping quality of any season yet.
Like, there were moments during this episode where I honestly was, for a second, I was like, am I watching a different show? Because, like,
yeah,
it's just so good.
Yeah.
And even just the animation was so great. There was one bit of animation that I'll rant about later when it comes to the daughters.
It seemed like they had 2D animation strewn into the middle of some of these scenes too, in the flashbacks.
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that really helped it.
I have to say, it looked like Castlevania for a few seconds at times. Like, it was very, very weird, like when they switched to 2D. But yeah, I think this episode holds up favorably to some of the best of the year that we've been talking about. Like, that's why I'm so high on this. Like, I think this will be on my top 50 end of year list of all episodes of animation. RWBY's never on those lists for me. Yeah. Like, RWBY just doesn't get to those heights. And I think this episode's there. I think the show is really fine. Like, will it capitalize every week? Probably not, but I think it is capable now of getting to these heights.
I just think I need a little more than 3 hours to, like, really decide whether I.
Yeah, we're recording this very fast after the episode, so we can have take some more time to dive into it. But yeah, that's what we have to do on the podcast. We have to have quick hot takes here. But sounds like going back, sounds like Hayley's on the team hashtag Salem did nothing wrong. which is a bold take given the events of this episode.
Yeah.
Andy, what do you think of Salem did nothing wrong? Do you agree?
No, she definitely thinks wrong, but she's definitely sympathetic, and that is more important than whether she did anything wrong, because I actually care about what she's doing now, and I can see why she did things, but she definitely killed, like, everybody on the planet.
No, she didn't, though. The gods did that.
Yeah.
But she did, like, convince all these people to go kill a bunch of gods.
Yeah, no, but she got a little... They, like, cursed her to prove a point, which was stupid. And then she got like a band of a couple folks to come with her, and they were like, okay, you guys are bad, so we're gonna murder the entire planet. Like, that's not Salem's fault.
I'm not saying the gods aren't bad too. I'm saying that she's not great.
No, like, she's not perfect. No
she's
way.
A very vengeful person, and that's a good character trait. Like, that's clearly like one of her big defining traits right now, that she's just very vengeful, and that's good. I like that. But she could have been a little more understanding. When gods tell you, like, hey, you got to learn what you're doing here is wrong. Like, maybe she should have thought a little bit before she went and tried to kill him.
I like that reaction. It was fun.
Go kill the gods. Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, no, screw you. Like, you brought my husband back and then killed him like 4 different times in front of her, which was super dramatic. And then they cursed her with eternal life when they could have just killed her too. And then they go off into their like pawns again. She's like, no, this is not happening. Standing up for herself.
I really like the idea of cursing someone with immortal life. I really like it. It seems like it isn't done a lot in fairy tales like this, just cursing someone with that. But it does feel like an enormous curse when that happens.
I think they do it. I think they get to the weight of it.
Yeah.
Well, it isn't just like, oh, eternal life. No, like, she's really darkly shown trying to like kill herself, which is I was not expecting that, but it was really, they gave weight to it, which was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like that. That was one of the visuals. There's so many visuals this episode I'm blown away by. The shadow of her stabbing herself was one of them. That was phenomenal. Also random. There's like, because this is on the in the realm of what we're talking about. There's this like she like is like thrown into the pool of water at one point, and like there's so much weight to like her falling in there, and the sound design on that I think was really good. Anyway, yeah, I think Salem is portrayed unsympathetically in this episode, like understandably, but there are unsympathetic elements. But I think the key is that the gods are also unsympathetic. Like, these are not, like the Christian God. These are like Greek gods where they're like, selfish and, emotional. Yeah. And not doing things in like, I mean, they didn't seem that emotional, but like, a clearly overreaction by God of Darkness just wiping off life off the planet. But I guess it was an experiment for them. But that's a big thing is these gods. And, I think my biggest takeaway from my number one thing from this episode is that learning that our current world of Remnant is a second attempt at human life. I think that this is like the key plot reveal in this episode. This is like the big plot reveal, because this is going to help to explain, I think, so much of what's happening in the world of RWBY and like why things are the way they are. I think
like auras even.
Well, does it explain
that was the one thing I think we don't touch on here, so let's not bring up auras. But I think literally everything else you can tie back into this being the god's second attempt at creating life here.
Well, I don't know if that explains Fauna's.
Yeah.
Well, I have an explanation for that. We can get to
all right.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's one thing that's also not super touched on, but yeah, that's like the big thing. It's like they wipe out life, and then somehow life comes about again.
Yeah.
The exact same way. That.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like I think there's the second time I was watching that worked a little bit better, because there's an implicature from the God of Light that this would be a long time before life would come back. So I think it's like life naturally is going to occur via whatever their version of evolution is.
Yeah, it seems like Salem wandered around for possibly millions of years before any life came back.
Yeah.
Ooh, maybe they could have the whole idea about how like life on Earth started because an asteroid hit the moon. Same idea, because the moon came down.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. There were those parts of the moon
could be
that fall back. That could have been other explanations.
That was a really cool shot too. All the parts of the moon falling around. That was cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I love that reveal that this is, this is the second attempt, and these gods, we dive in, we've like referenced them before, but we dive into them in quite a bit of depth. They're the brothers, and pretty standard depictions of force of good, force of evil. Salem goes to one of them, tries to get the God of Light to bring back Ozma. Ozma is Ozpin, by the way, and he's just Ozma, and we don't get into the name change, but yeah, Ozma, and he dies, and she tries to get the God of Light, and he says no, and then she goes to the God of Darkness, and he does bring it back, and then it's like, oh, she tricked him, and then they get on the same page, and then they curse Salem and kill Ozma again.
I was really worried when the God of Darkness first appeared that they were going to be like, oh, he's evil. But like after the God of Light came and told him that she tricked him, it really became apparent that he's more of like Greek god Hades. Like he's not evil, he just has a job. He has his job is destruction, his job is death, but like he's not inherently evil, and I liked that. He's still a jerk. Like he's not a good. He's still really bad and killed everybody.
No, but they're also both jerks.
Yes, but he's not any worse than the God of Light or any better. Which is
once they reconcile in that scene, they're on the same page, and so there's really not that distinction between good and bad. It's more just creation, destruction.
And it's like they said they agreed that they wouldn't bring back life too, so they have some sort of like contract with each other. Yeah, they're like, okay, this is what our world will be. These are our rules, and go from there.
Yeah, they're depicted with like ram horns. They're these like shadow figures, and they can also turn into dragons, which I think is pretty cool.
Super cool.
Yeah, could relate to some dragon name stuff we got going on with the Zhalogs at some point.
Wait. Was the Western dragon, like, was the dragon that the Darkness guy turned into, was it very similar to the dragon in season 3 or not?
Oh yeah, there's already a dragon in the show. That's true. Is the dragon still there? Is that one of them? Probably not. But Grim Dragon, interesting. That could relate back. Another key thing we learned is that I think we all kind of thought Salem like created the Grim, but we learned that the God of Darkness is it's like an innate part of the world is Grim, and these pools of Grim, pools of annihilation. So those predate Salem. She's just she throws herself into them, and that's why she ends up looking the way she is. But and by the way, Salem locked in a tower like we learned last time. And Ozma rescues her and then dies, and then we have this whole thing with the gods, and then Salem's made immortal. The God of Light says, "You must learn the importance of life and death. Only then may you rest." Unclear whether that is still on, because then they put it's like there's a whole thing that happens after that, but possible that's an out to Salem is us getting into that, and her stabbing herself. Then she like gathers this army to defeat them. She's like, I like the concept of her like showing off her immortality in order to convince people.
Highly effective strategy there.
I think so. Yeah. And they like launch magic at the God of Darkness, and then he like takes it and then kills everyone except Salem. That's another key component about this being the second attempt at life, is that the first attempt at humans, they were innately magical. And then these new humans don't have magic except for the two people that remain from the time of the first humans, Ozma and Salem. So that's interesting how magic plays into RWBY, because we have our whole own system of magic now, and it's not directly touched on. And I guess we can get back to that. But yeah, in the beginning, everyone could just use magic. We kill everyone except Salem. The world is merely a remnant of what it once was.
You really emphasized that one.
That might be the cheesiest thing ever uttered in a show this year.
Yeah, I love that.
It's good. It's just really cheesy.
It was, but I think in the time to be blatant about things, like that's why this is really the perfect setting for RWBY. RWBY is always like that, and it's always like really thin on narrative. But this is the creation stories are when you actually should be thin and direct, and so like this is like perfect for Miles' writing, I think. So that's why it's not surprising. I feel like that this is like really good, like the best execution on this. Then the darkness leaves and shatters the moon as he's leaving, and that's why the moon looks like that. Yeah, this was a really important mystery for a lot of people who watch the show. Probably not us. I don't think we really talked about it on the podcast too much. Why is the moon like that?
It was always I just assumed it was like a decorative thing.
Yeah, well, that's definitely what it was originally.
I love that it actually ties into the mythology of this universe. Like, that's so great.
Yeah, Andy, were you bothered by this?
By the moon being destroyed? No, I love it. It's so stupid. This is the perfect way for RWBY to do this. Just have it be like a hand wave, like, oh, he just flew through the moon. It happened. Sure.
Yeah. But it also like it's so stupid, but it also explains something, which is amazing. Yeah. Like it's crazy.
I accept this.
I guess the criticism would be it's like this really important symbolism that's explained in a very fast and nonchalant moment. But I think it has weight to it. It's a god. A god did it when they were abandoning Earth. Like that's pretty good.
So at this point, when we're talking about abandoning Earth, can we mention that the gods are just aliens?
Okay, we don't. Andy, I don't want to dive into how this works in terms. Yeah, I don't care. Like, why are they?
But I like that idea.
What are they in to start with? Are they the progenitors of all life in the universe, or just remnants? They seem to leave and go to a different planet.
Yeah.
They could be aliens, but whatever. We have to accept. We have to accept the base level here.
I just want to acknowledge that happened, and they're just going somewhere else in the universe.
Yeah, they went somewhere else. So maybe we could get into life on other planets
That's
in RWBY.
The second series, don't we follow their next planet?
That's seasons 14 to 26. Is
exactly.
Okay. I seems plausible, honestly. Big moment with
Genlock is, Dylan. That's where Genlock is.
Oh, that's what Genlock is. Oh, and they'll tie together. Oh, interesting. Yeah. This other world is just robots fighting each other. Yeah.
Yep.
I actually buy that they'd do that. Anyway, say the big moment with Salem to try to get rid of her immortality jumps into the pool of Grimm, and instead
the logic is there.
That was an awesome scene. I think that was one of the better scenes.
That was gorgeous.
I buy it too. I buy her logic there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And why not try? But apparently all it does is creates a desire for destruction from Salem. I think it's up for debate how much of an effect this had on her, honestly, beyond turning her like albino.
She seemed pretty chill after. Like she just lived in a cabin.
She's able to. She has a whole life with Ozma when he comes back, and she was already destructive before this to a certain extent.
Yeah, there wasn't much of a character shift before or after. She just had power, I guess, over the Grimm. But
I think like the Salem we see even post Grimpool in this Fable is way more nuanced than the Salem we've seen previously in the show. Like like she's manipulative and like destructive and stuff, but she comes across much more nuanced than just like kill everything, Grimm, send them out. Like that's what we've gotten from her before. So I think if we like translated some of this Salem now onto our present Salem, I think that'd be great. I don't know if she's lost herself even more or something. I don't know if we're going for something specifically there. But I think that it was definitely interesting to see that as the origin for her being the way she is, and she's just an immortal person who was granted immortality by the gods and jumped into a pool of ancient evil, and so that's why she's there.
And it looks like her base is next to that pool of evil. Like looking back at other seasons, like she was next to those pools that Grimm were coming out of.
Yeah, I think her home base is at the Domain of Darkness. Yes.
Yeah.
I think that would be
that would be fitting.
Yeah. But Domain of Light we hadn't seen previously.
No.
So interesting to see if we visit there ever. Maybe that's Ozpin's home base or something. I don't know. That'd be symbolic.
Maybe.
But then a lot of big stuff here. The God of Light brings Ozma back and makes him reincarnate. And
leaves a lot of big details out of his explanation to him as well.
Okay, well, we'll see what
like he didn't, the God of Light didn't tell him really why Salem was angry and why everyone died. He just like brushed over the fact that they did that.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting because it I don't know if it's like a nuance to Oz Blank's character, but it makes it interesting because he doesn't know everything, even though he tends to seem like he does, which I think was a neat detail. And I feel like I understand what you were saying earlier, Andy, about how it doesn't really fully explain why he was so upset last last episode and everything. But it kind of just hammered home to me more and gave some validity to the whole idea of, oh, he's old and knows all. Like, I'm kind of now like, yeah, I guess he does kind of like, he does know an awful lot and has rationale for what he does. So I see him as more sympathetic, and I don't love him as a personality, but like I see where he's coming from now, which is valuable.
I guess I can see, like his viewpoint, but I still don't get why he gets so upset about things sometimes. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
I think it's because he is so old and like omnipresent kind of in the history of this world that our main characters are just an insignificant little thing, and he needs that, like, all the questions that the relic can give him, and it's like pawns that he's using kind of idea. Like, his major goal is to, I guess, collect all the relics and get to the gods and bring them back. So that's like just such a big concept that he always has to deal with, that I don't know why he would get so angry at them about it. Like, I don't know.
On a basic level, he's last podcast we're like, is Ozpin the true villain? Like, we have genuinely asked that question. And here we learn that Ozpin is trying to carry out the mission of good.
Yeah, so I think he's good now. He's not evil anymore.
Like, on a basic level, yes, Ozpin is good. Ozma. But here's what we get into with the relics. We get an explanation of the relics as well. They are left behind by the God of Light, and they're like a cell phone to call the old gods. They will teleport back when they're brought together, and then it will bring about Judgment Day. And if they're living in harmony, then they'll come back and just live in the world. And if not, then they'll kill everyone. And then
great.
Ozma has to keep reincarnating until they come back, until the relics are reunited. We get to see what all the relics are. There's like this staff or scepter. People are calling it different things, which is the creation one. Sword, destruction. Crown is choice, and then the lantern is knowledge, which we knew.
So at least there's not gonna be more genies.
Yes.
Well, you know,
we thought last week.
Last week I was like, "Oh, there's genies or not." There could be. We didn't know for sure based on that. We see at the end that he asks Jin about the other relics, but we don't see the answer, so we don't really know how they work. But I think the implication is that there's not more genies. But I don't know. We can see.
Yeah.
In terms of like what's Ozpin's motivations, so the big takeaways I feel like for Salem and Ozpin here at the end of this is Salem probably trying to gather all the relics in order to bring back the gods, in order to kill all the humans, because
or she's trying to kill the gods.
Yeah, I think she's trying to kill the
gods. It's unclear, because I don't think she directly said that ever. I feel like a lot of people are implying that. I can buy that, but on the surface, based on the mechanisms that we know about, if she's definitely trying to get the relics, and if she got all the relics, then all the humans would die, because we're certainly not living in harmony right now. So that seems to be the direct result of what she's currently trying to do. She could also be trying to kill the gods. She could also trying to be getting rid of her immortality, because that's really the only way I feel like to get rid of that. At the end, Jin says you can't destroy Salem, so maybe even the gods can't do it. Who knows?
But these are things I'm fine questioning on, Dylan, because now we at least know what she's trying to do on a base level. Like, we know why she wants the relics. We know
motivations.
What it would do.
Yeah, like, I agree. This is all acceptable ambiguity now.
Yes.
Yeah, Ozpin, it's a little more unclear, but at the very least, he probably was trying to initially separate the relics, because he put them in different places in these lockers around the world, and he knows
because we're not good yet.
Yeah, he knows that humanity is not living in harmony, so he's trying to prevent Salem from getting them.
Maybe
that's why he's so angry at them, because they might bring it together, and the world's not ready yet.
Maybe he didn't want. Maybe he was trying to hide from Team RWBY that what they were doing wasn't actually saving the world. He was just leading them on another quest to do nothing, essentially.
Yeah, he was like, I gotta waste another life. Like, we're not ready yet, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, we learn that he needs to kill Salem first, or at least he's trying to kill Salem before reuniting the relics, because I guess Salem is preventing the world from living in harmony.
Yeah.
So that's, and we know that he knows that he can't do that too. Because I mean, right. So it's a conundrum, because he needs to kill Salem in order for the world to live in harmony, but he can't kill Salem unless he brings the gods back. But the gods can't come back, or else they'll destroy all the humans. So really, there's no. I think that's so basically.
Silver Eyes gets involved maybe here.
Silver Eyes is something we did not explain. We'll get to that.
I think you brushed over something, Dylan. When the God of Light reincarnated him, he also said that Ozpin would always not be alone, and I think that's another important thing. And I think that's something that he has not. That's the one that he hasn't done yet. He hasn't looked to the people around him for help. He's only tried to help them instead. And I think that's going to be something that comes up in this season.
That feels right for Ozpin's character. I think also we get into the mechanics of his reincarnation, which Ozpin accepts before he learns the details of, and only recently he started to live with this living with the soul he's paired with.
Yep.
So
And their family.
Yeah, there's a lot of that too. Ozpin, what is Ozpin trying to do? Unclear. I personally, I see potentially a lot of similarities to Dracula in Castlevania with Ozpin in terms of this like immortal figure who is just tired of still living forever. And it's possible he could want to kill himself. The way to do that would be to get the relics together. That would be the way to, because we know he's reincarnating until the relics are come together. So if he wanted to stop, that's what he would try to do now. So if he gave up on the world, that's what he could do. You could also say Salem's that immortal figure that's tired too, and maybe she wants to bring the relics together for herself to die. Maybe she doesn't think she can kill the gods. She just wants to stop being immortal herself.
I think she wants to kill herself and the gods. Like just take it out.
She wants everyone dead.
Everyone done.
Yeah.
She's done with it.
Yeah. So unclear if Ozpin is just still very much pep in his step for trying to save everyone and keep the relics apart, or if he's just like jaded and wants it to be over with, or if there's some sort of middle ground. I feel like combination of these two things, like he's tired but still trying to do good, but he's too jaded to trust everyone, like Team RWBY now. He hides information from them. And learning at the end that they can't kill Salem, it does seem like they're on some sort of wild goose chase is the way it comes across at the end. Like, it doesn't seem like he's actively trying to do anything right now, because RWBY thinks they're killing, like we specifically stated that earlier this season. Team RWBY thinks they're going to kill Salem. Ozpin knows they can't. So I guess the secret is that, there's no real goal for what's happening right now.
And I guess they're really lucky that Jin didn't just tell them you can't kill Salem and nothing else. Because, like, again, she was very descriptive to the question RWBY asked.
Yeah. Jin was very helpful here, explaining a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, briefly, the rest of the stuff in the episode. Salem and Ozpin, they're the only two magical beings left on Earth now, and they reunite, and they come back to being together. Interesting. And they decide, Salem convinces Ozpin to become new gods, and they create a kingdom, and then they have a family with 4 magic daughters.
Wink, wink, nudge.
Yeah. But then they turn on each other, and they start fighting. With the turning on second viewing, that turning was a little bit fast. It was
very dramatic.
Yeah,
it escalated
I
very
really
quickly.
wasn't 100% sure who turned on who and why. I think Salem turned on Ozpin. And
what I was gathering, Ozpin was trying to sneak the girls out of the house. Like he was trying to leave with them, and she caught him.
That was unclear.
That's why she attacked him.
If that's true. But regardless, their fight with the pink and the green, I think was another standout visual just in these various mediums. Seeing those flashes throughout, it was phenomenal. And then, the present, Ozpin's been reincarnating. He's learning to live with the soul he's paid with. There's the shot of the family that we'll come back to in a second. And he has to destroy Salem to reunite the world. He's looking for the relics, but Jin's, we see him, a different version of him asking Jin, and Jin saying they can't destroy Salem. And then we end with the shot of Oscar in his current state.
So that was clearly a different set of questions, right? Like he asked 3 questions at a different point.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. There were 3 questions asked, so that was the previous 100 years.
Okay, I just want to make sure
so we still don't know what his first question was this century. Yeah. Okay, so let's go through a bunch of things that may or may not be explained by this mythology, this creation story of the world of remnants, and let's start with the Maidens, because there's some confusion here. They have 4 magic daughters, Salem and Ozpin, and these are probably the Maidens.
Probably.
Yeah. The episode is not clear, and also it contradicts something we previously heard in season 3 about what Ozpin told us before about the Maidens. So if these are the Maidens, and they're color-coded according to season as children, so I think that this is very clear that these are the Maidens, they're magic. We don't for sure learn this, but if so, that means either Ozpin was lying before, or there's some sort of reconciliation between what Ozpin said and this beginning. I think it was probably both true.
I think what happened is that Ozpin is very tricky with the way he speaks, and I've read specific stories about stuff like this where people can't lie, and the way they get around it is they just tell metaphors or tell similar stories, but not actually use concrete names or like places they've been, so that this is quote unquote what happened, but it's not exactly the way it happened because he didn't actually commit to it being these people.
Yeah, I agree. I think Ozpin was indirectly telling the truth.
Yeah.
With the maiden, with the tale of the maidens. But the truth is more of what Jin said, that these are their daughters of Salem and Ozpin.
Yeah.
And the maiden magic transfer mechanism wasn't explained, but whatever.
I guess it's inheritable, being reincarnated. Like that.
Yeah, maybe it's related to that.
Yeah. So there you go. And we agree that these are the maidens here.
Yeah, I think it's also neat to think that the like big power that the maidens have is what everyone had before this story happened, which is kind of neat. Yeah. No, I'm happy. The one thing that bugged me, and I don't know if you guys noticed this as well, but I feel like the animation scale, I don't know how to refer to this, but the scale of the daughters was so confused to the parents. Did you guys notice that?
Oh, like how they were really small?
Well, they were smaller, but they were like, the proportions were really off. I don't know what it confused me. They looked like adults that they had just like minimized. It was weird.
They didn't know how to make anything other than a hot 20-year-old.
Yeah, exactly. RWBY only knows how to design 20-year-olds. So
they didn't look like kids, or I think they were trying to be overly like they're babies, so they mess with the proportions, but it threw me out of it for a second because they didn't look like children. But yeah, that's an aside. I like that they made an appearance at least because it doesn't confirm what we think it is, but I think they're probably the maidens, which is a good.
I agree. It's a cool concept that the maidens in the old Earth were just normal people, but here they're these special magical beings.
Right. It's cool.
So I think that's the clearest thing out of the things that were unexplained. Here's another one which may or may not be explained. Silver Eyes.
Yeah.
So the only hinting of Silver Eyes I'm going to point to is there's this one shot of when we're learning that Ozma is learning to live with the souls he's paired with. We see that one of the people he's paired with has a family. There's a wife, and then there's two children. And if you look carefully at the children, they have silver eyes.
Yeah.
So the theory would be that, and this is loose connection because it's not explained by the episode, but the theory would be that the people that have silver eyes are descendants of Ozma. They are blood descendants of people Ozma has reincarnated into.
And that would make sense because he has some magic inside him. They have some of that magic that the first people had, and that's my assumption at least. But it's just in their eyes for some reason.
Yeah, I think in order to like literally genetically pass on magic, it would probably make sense that he'd have to have the kids after he was put into the body. Yeah, so it couldn't be kids that were already there and then he went and jumped into them. I guess they're usually young, but yeah, so genetically passing on his magic. I think I agree that makes some amount of sense here. The implication of this is that RWBY is a descendant of Ozma.
Yes.
Scandal.
Yeah, so Hayley, as our Rose Garden shipper, what do you think about the implications of that for Oscar and RWBY? Seems problematic.
I'm happy to let the ship die. Like,
are we officially nailing into its coffin because it's kind of incest now?
No, it's so incest. Yeah, it was fun. I think it was last season. It was fun because it was like kind of sweet, and it was like, oh, Oscar and RWBY, whatever. But now, no, there's too much baggage that he's bringing to this relationship.
We already had enough baggage. It's all Ozpin's fault. If you get rid of Ozpin, this is fine.
Yeah, Oscar's great, but
which we still might do. Hayley, are you buying or selling this Silver Eyes equals descendant of Ozma?
Buying. I think it makes sense. It's like very neat and tidy, which is kind of strange for the show, but it actually does make sense. And I think it I like it. I'm buying it.
Yeah. I'm pretty confident in this one. I think if we're going to explain Silver Eyes this season, we're going to tie it to the giant exposition dump we had in this episode.
Especially if we have we haven't established that the daughters are the maidens, but pretty likely that they are. So we've kind of made it a thing that the people who have magic in this world are related in some way to Salem and Ozpin.
Yeah, there's a mechanical connection through magic genetics.
Happen. Yeah, it's not existing anymore, right? So it has to come from some source, and that would be a source for sure.
And then there's a corollary to this because we've been talking about all these people being related to Ozpin because Maria has been hinted at having silver eyes.
Yeah,
does that mean that she's in some way? That probably means she's in some way related to one of Ozpin's descendants as well, and maybe she would be even the daughter of one of his because she seems very old. You know what I mean? And we don't know much about Ozpin's life
or how long this has all been going on for because it seems like billions of years, maybe, if the world restarted. Yeah. So it's not inconceivable for there to be two of his descendants that meet each other once in a life. Like, that's not weird.
Too crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, by the way, who in RWBY's lineage would be Ozma then? So that's an interesting thing to think about.
Maybe her mother's father or something. Like, maybe it's just her grandfather, like one before Ozpin.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, yeah.
Ooh,
some connection to summer you need.
Yeah, into the intro, because the season 6 intro, which also the music is just so good for this intro, guys. Every time it's so good. Like, I start the episode, it's like, yeah, let's get into it. But there's that bit where we see all the guys, and then it ends up with Ozpin and then Oscar. So I want to look at that again, though, and see what the one before Ozpin is, and see if it's someone we don't recognize, because maybe that is RWBY's ancestor.
Yeah, we see most, if not all of them, I think, in this episode, but I'll have to double check.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to things I'm less confident in the episode directly explaining, and I think the most prominent thing is maybe dust, because we learned that the old humans were magic, and current humans do use magic, but it's via a channeling of dust, and there's one shot of dust in the episode that we do see, like a cart full of crystals. So, how is dust explained in this world? And I think that there's two big theories that have emerged in the 3 hours since the episode. So Hayley, you said moon? Is that what you said? Yeah. So number one is the moon. The meteors come crashing down from the moon, and sprinklings of the moon in the earth could become dust. Yeah, sure. That's number one. It's directly based on something we saw. Number two is that the remnants of the original humans on Earth, they were wiped out via the God of Darkness's purple blast, and they have turned into dust.
Would you say he
via fossil fuel, like some sort of I don't like on our world, the way the gas is like billions of years. It is ancient plants that have taken their energy from photosynthesis, and it turns into fossil fuels. And in the RWBY world, I don't know if it works with like creatures. I'm not 100% sure in the science, but yeah, in the RWBY world, you had these humans that are in the ground that were magic. And so they, like, over the millions and billions of years, they compress and they turn into energy, pure magic energy that takes the form of these dust fossils. So if that's true, then dust is like millions and billions of years old.
See, I was bored with this, Dylan, until you got all like fossily and rocky, and I'm like, I'm good. I'm on board with this now.
Yeah, explain. Yeah, Indy, explain your geology. Explain it better. The
geology
thing.
Is that what you said?
Your geology. Yeah, explain the fossil fuel thing better.
A layman's description. That's pretty close to it. Like, things die, they go underground, they're compressed, and they turn into.
Is it just? Do you know if it's just plants, or is it also dinosaurs that turn into like fossil fuel?
It can be really anything, but it's mostly plants. Plants are really the big one.
Yeah, because they're more direct to the energy source. That makes sense. But yeah, that to me is really appealing because it ties into real world science. The moon thing is more directly shown in the episode.
Yeah.
But I love this fossil idea, though. That's so cool.
But the thing is, you had people that were dead and they were magic.
And would have the magic energy.
Yeah, that to me honestly makes more sense than the moon, which I don't understand why it would be magic. Because it was touched by a god, I guess.
Yeah.
Or maybe the moon was magic all along. But the thing that makes more direct sense to me is this fossil fuel thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm on that train. I like that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on this train, Dylan. I really think they're just going to say the moon was magic, but I'm on this train.
But
I don't know. But that's the thing,
really
though. Like I said in the beginning, the big takeaway is that this is the second attempt at humanity. So I think if you want to explain everything, you can explain dust by the second attempt at humanity. It's be the remains of the first humans. Now that's how they still have access to it. And it also, by the way, it would mean that dust is a non-renewable source of energy. If that's the case, even if it was moon meteors, it would also mean non-renewable because these are not naturally occurring things. You can much like in our world, if you use up all fossil fuel like we're doing, then there's not going to be any more. So then they're going to run out of magic at some point.
I also like the idea, if that's true, Dylan, that the Schnee family might have because usually there's another trope we haven't touched on yet, that like the big royal family in a world like has some knowledge of the past that the layman doesn't. And it'd be interesting if the Schnee Dust Company does understand what they're actually doing. You know what I mean?
And that makes them even more evil, that they know that it's not, there's no, they're using it up, and that, probably it just feels also wrong if they're using, like, humans, harvesting human remains, too.
That would be an interesting twist if we get to her family and that happens.
I could see that, yeah, that'd be cool. Okay. So there's Dust. That's something that now we're going even further down the can you tie it into this episode.
Yeah, here we go.
Faunuses. So,
all right, I want to hear this, Dylan. I want to hear this.
Okay, so here's the only thing. There's credit to Michael in our chat, in our Discord. If the dust is ancient human magic, even if it came from the moon, if like animals like consume it, then maybe they like turn into faunuses over time.
Shown.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, animal. Oh, were there? Yeah, because we don't know how
Salem
animals
was walking along after all the humans died, and there were some deer that she walked by.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so the animals like take the remnants of the previous magic and they combine, and it turns them into faunuses or something. Whatever. That's the best we got here.
Or that whatever made humans come back somehow mutated a little bit, and it stayed. Because what I'm thinking is that it's kind of like a Neanderthal kind of idea, where there's different subspecies of humans, and
that makes sense. That we could have got that before, though. Like that already kind of made sense. That honestly, there's these different threads of human genes.
But it does explain that, like, I guess the evolution, we're not that far off from it starting. Right, like maybe we're kind of early in evolutionary cycles.
Yeah, in RWBY. And I think given that we don't see the gods directly create more humans, and that's not implied that they're descended from Salem and Ozpin, so like the implication is that there's some sort of evolution happening, so that would tie into the fact that the different things would evolve.
Did the gods specifically say they would judge the humans when they came back? Or just people? Because faunuses aren't human. Like, even if they are close, they're not human. And that could be an interesting wrench thrown into all of this at the end.
I think the first time we heard human was when Salem was talking with Oz at her like house at one point. Because I remember her saying it.
They just say if the world is living in harmony. I think
they don't say human.
I think that's possible. Yeah, I don't. We have to go back and fact.
No, I'd have to go back.
I think it's just world. Yeah.
Okay.
That's interesting.
That'd be a curious wrench if that.
Because the faunuses, they specifically mentioned that faunuses are in
as
the
a
new
separate
world.
thing.
They clearly weren't there in the old world. So
yeah.
And this, by the way, all of this ties the faunus plotline directly in, because faunus discrimination is probably the main source of non-harmony in the RWBY world. So the fact that we need to resolve that in order to not all die,
not be killed by
the relics being reunited. So I think that ties the White Fang plotline stuff in a little bit well. Okay, last thing, a lot of people have been bringing this up. Is John descended from Salem and Ozpin?
Why?
Andy,
Why?
I honestly don't understand the logic behind this one. Can you explain?
The
this to me?
logic is, Dylan. The logic is we have to have a reason for why John is so important in this show, and we don't know how he could be or why he is. But all of a sudden, Ozpin has kids. So suddenly, if his kids didn't die in that house, because we don't know for sure if they did die there, Dylan. And the theory is maybe they had kids, and he's descendant of one of those original children of Ozpin, or Ozma. Sorry.
Yeah, so John would be descended from the Maidens, basically. Descended from,
And
so he doesn't have silver eyes, so he's not the same thing there, but he could be like a...
But I don't think the Maidens in that scene had silver eyes either.
Right. So it's his reincarnation descendants, not his direct lineage with Salem, that have the silver eyes.
Which is really confusing, but sure.
Yeah.
I mean, this is all still on the speculation side, both elements of that. But we're trying to tie it together. Yeah, I guess I sell this just because I don't see why there's everything else we've heard has some sort of explanation, maybe except for the faunus thing. This is no explanation.
I don't buy this, Dylan. But the thing is, I do expect him to give us a reason why John is important at some point, and I'm just trying to find it.
I don't think it's an in-world reason why he's important.
I think probably there's going to be something. I don't know if this is it. We'll see.
Well, there's got to be some explanation. Not that I want this to be true at all, but in the opening, he does like get angry at Oscar. So that could be a lot of things. Though.
The thing that did make me kind of buy this theory, Dylan, is that someone said there is some similarity between him and Salem in that he has a lover that died and he wants to get her back in some way.
Yeah, but that's not hereditary.
No.
Okay. And the obvious thing is that they both have blonde hair.
Yeah.
So.
But I mean, there's just some thematic similarities there. And if he tries to search for Pyrrha, then there might be something there.
Yeah, that is some thematic. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see. I don't want to get into that, but we might.
But I'm fine with it just being a thematic similarity. That'd be fine.
This seems like the lowest priority of all the things we've discussed.
Definitely.
Getting into that. I think the Maidens we might not get into in more detail, or we could next episode. It would only take 30 seconds to tie it in.
I think the biggest thing, Dylan, thing that we haven't touched on is like what the Maidens really have in terms of this cycle, in terms of like the end of this. Do we really need the Maidens at all besides just getting to the vaults that Ozpin made in the first place? Because that seems like
they're just like a random addition that the gods didn't plan for, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so it doesn't seem tied to the gods, yeah.
No, it's just, I think it's related to Ozpin.
Yeah, it's interesting. Do they have some sort of larger importance? I guess we'll see. The thing that I definitely expect to be explored this season is the Silver Eyes. So we'll learn, is the Ozpin's descendant thing really true?
Yeah.
Because Maria was presumably listening to this entire story, despite being very new to the group. So I don't know. Kind of dangerous here, Maria knowing all this.
I personally think, Dylan, that the Silver Eyes, based on what we've seen, based on the fact that like we saw that Silver Eyes kind of they're kind of the anti-Grimm. Like RWBY used them and killed like a bunch of Grimm in season 3, right? Well. He started giving Ozpin started to send his descendants started getting Silver Eyes once he started reincarnating, which happened when the God of Light did something to him, right? So possibly what that means is that this is a remnant of the God of Light's power in some way, and that's why it's like anti-Grimm power, because that's his brother's thing. Yeah,
well, I guess his ability to reincarnate is coming from the God of Light, right? So any power that he hands on is through that. So
yeah. That would be my assumption based on what we've seen, because that makes sense. That would explain why RWBY was able to kill all those Grimm.
Mm-hmm. It makes enough sense to me. Ozpin is symbolic of the God of Light, this power, and he's doing the work of trying to make the world good again. So, but yeah, a lot of interesting stuff to potentially dive into in the next few episodes. Opportunity to rant about anything here that we didn't talk about. Andy, do you have anything?
After talking, I'm less mad about Ozpin's anger last episode. I'm willing to wait and see next episode, which is crazy. I'm not ranting, Dylan. That's my answer.
Oh, no ranting. But I'm not ranting either. Hayley, are you ranting?
No. I think the little inconsistencies in the storyline totally make sense to not be addressed because of the context that it's in. Like, I'm not upset at it.
Again, I'm not upset about Aura not being touched on, Dylan, but I wanted to know about it. I don't want to know
we
about
got everything else, so except for a couple things.
Yeah.
But no, I'm very happy with it. I think it gives me so much more like investment in these characters going forward, and kind of the end goal of the show. It's much clearer now. So it was great. Yeah.
Nice. I think auras and semblances are even more infuriating now that we know that these are the non-magic version of humanity. These are the non-magic users, so why do they have these abilities?
Yeah. I think
maybe it's related to this whole theory about that dust is like fossils, that the energy went back into the earth, so all the food that everyone eats has that in it.
Oh my god.
Maybe it's related to that.
That's better. That's the most reasonable aura explanation we've gotten so far.
Yeah, and for some reason, some of us are harnessing it.
That's true from now on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love it.
So it sounded for like final thoughts there from Hayley.
A+.
Nice. And Andy, final thoughts.
This was a really good episode. I'm, as always, hesitant to see where we're going to go, but I am surprisingly happy with this season so far. So much so that I'm ready to be knocked off and like just knocked over and be like, yeah, RWBY's still bad. But right now, this is the best start to a season yet, like 100%. There's no way any season of RWBY could have been better than these 3 episodes so far, and I'm actually excited for next week, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're 3 for 3 in a good way so far. So I love this episode. Hope to build on this momentum to come and not cut to John and his team anytime soon, but we will next episode for sure. So Neo, we haven't even gotten Neo yet. That's gonna be fun. So
I know.
We'll see.
And we didn't get a Cinder B story like I was worried about.
Yeah, that would have really undermined the episode.
Yeah. It was a great decision to stay on this for a long time. And it was very long, but I thought it was like hugely successful.
We'll give it the importance that it deserves, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think, really the most, things make more sense than they ever have before.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. So we'll hopefully can clarify it. We'll read a lot of things that are like probably, but not for sure. So hopefully we can get into those to even more of an extent to come. Okay, so let us know what you thought of this episode. Do you agree? Are you guys high on it as well? Leave comments on our YouTube, youtube.com/overlyanimated, or on our website, overlyanimated.com, and click on the link to this podcast, and you can leave comments there. That we'd really appreciate positive reviews on our RWBY iTunes feed. We are still on the mission to counteract the negative ones. Thank you very much to Burton Homan, who left us a very positive review. It was fantastic, thoughtful discussion on RWBY, talking about even though he disagrees with some stuff, still appreciates it, and I appreciate anyone that holds that opinion. Thank you guys. And I know there's more people who like it than don't like it, but it would be great to we could boost that star rating up on the RWBY iTunes feed. So any of that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you guys. And it just comments in general and likes and stuff help a lot. You can talk about our Discord RWBY channel, what's happened today with this episode. A lot of speculation here. Find that at overlyanimated.com/Discord. And the number one way to support us is via our Patreon financially at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thank you very much to all of our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, David, aka Papa Papillon. And thanks as always to our patron executive producers, John, Ryan, Steve, Alex, and Hugh. I don't even think he listens to this one. That's unfortunate. But there you go. Find other podcasts at overlyanimated.com. Since RWBY is an anime, as we all know, we recently did a fall anime mid-season review. So you can, I think we referenced that RWBY is not an anime in that podcast. So you can find that. We talk about all the currently airing animes there.
And if you're missing the rants, you have them there too.
Yeah, there's some rants in there. So Andy's ranting on Sao in particular. Make sure to go check that out. Ladybug ended season 2 Ladybug coverage. We had that and other stuff, including Castlevania, Craig of the Creek. We'll find all that at overlyanimated.com. We're in DuckTales and getting into She-Ra soon. So check all that out. We'll be back next week for hopefully more great RWBY, he says, optimistically for the first time ever. So there you go. Thanks for listening, guys. We will see you then. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.